Well, up and Adams early. This is Snoo. We are on day one. Excited, hype. 5 months waiting for the league start. Trial of the Ancestors. No, I will not be testing the league mechanic today or tomorrow, the day after, or probably even the week after. I don't know. But I am going to do the league. And we're going to kick things off with an experimental build. Oh my god. I'm going to name it Snoo Econc. Experimental is what this league is. So I think I will actually give a day one review of how things go. I did a little bit of testing yesterday. I didn't really have time to do like a full-blown test on Econc leveling and stuff, but I did verify that it feels a little bit bad to switch to Econc immediately, like in Act 3. And that's because Poisonous Concoction just scales so freaking well. It's just got so many things going for it the first half of the campaign, but Explosive Concoction kind of plays a little bit catch up with mark on hit support, Sniper's Mark, definitely big. That's certainly a lot better than a self-cast Cursed when you're just trying to play. And getting the flask too, the Sapphire and the Topaz flask, you know, you got the Life flask easy with Poison Concoction. You don't just start with Topaz and Sapphire flask, so that's kind of a big deal. Also, getting like that resistance flip mastery, elemental mastery, that's pretty big for Explosive Concoction. So waiting those things out. Oh yeah, and buying a Prism Weave for 1 or 2 chaos off trade is going to be insanely good power spike, which I plan to do. So I have my league start kind of adjusted a little bit. It is updated for Explosive Concoction. I'm going to be, there's kind of a new reset or respec out of Poisonous Concoction into Explosive Concoction. It's going to take most of the regret points awarded through quests to do that, but I'm going to do that around Act 6 or 7. So I know people are always very, very concerned about when do you switch? When should you switch? So I'm just letting you guys know. If you're following this, if you're going to be on console or you're, you know, a day late or something, and you're wanting to follow the build, switch it out around Act 6 or 7. It should feel pretty good. Here we go. It's go time. Econc time. Yeah, I'm dubbing it a new thing. We had Peconc, now we got Econc. I guess. I mean, that makes the most sense. I should actually have a decent time for the campaign, I think. I did a 3-hour Act 1 through 5. I was a little bit casual about it, but I think that's faster than I usually do, so maybe I'm getting a little better. I still gotta grab my regrets. Requires 12 regrets, which you can get in the beginning of Act 6. There we go. Here it is, 12 regrets. We're swapping from Poisonous Concoction to Explosive Concoction. Right after the first quest in Act 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. 8, 9, 10, 11. Boom. 1, 2, 3. This one, yes. 4. 1, 2, 3. Here is last point. I want to take this point here, but I don't have the regrets for it, so I have to kind of jerry-rig it this way. I will be taking natural remedies in a little while, but first we're going to try to get... I kind of probably should have waited until I got the hits have a chance to be treat monster resistance values as inverted, really strong. In 2 levels, I'm going to be strong here, though. Alright, so it's a 2 red and 3 green, so we're taking all this out. This is the Poisonous Concoction 4 link. And I guess I'll remove War Banner for now. Withering Step is going, Plague Bearer is going. That, and of course, Volley. Okay, there it is. Explosive Concoction ready to go. Definitely feels like he's dying a little faster than with my Poisonous Concoction characters. I don't want to stand there. Woo! Usually I would have died by now. Helps having a 39 life on hit, though. That definitely helps. And a life flask. Wow. That's a fast phasing. Whoa! Oh, I'm not hitting anything. I ran out of mana. Uh-oh, here comes the big one. No? Not the big one? Is it over? What? No, it's not. It's like nowhere to stand. Oh, you actually have to take him down to 0. I didn't realize that. Stand in the safe spot. Oh yeah, get him. Get him. Oh, flaming projectiles. Whoa. 2 uniques. They both suck. And that is a Kitava Kill. I haven't looked at the time in a while. I'm going to guess 7 hours and 25 minutes. Ooh. By 9 minutes. 7:30. Well, let's break down what I finished things with. I did purchase a 3 dragons, 2 chaos, pre-4 linked. I purchased Thieves' Torment, very well rolled, 4 chaos. Rash Kaldor's Patience, 1 chaos. Terrific synergy between these 2 items. And getting high shock value. Rolled all the rares. Very nicely rolled rares. Here. Actually got a decent evasion rating on a chest. That's pretty unusual. Mute Wind, bought. 2 chaos. Found all these flasks. %40 chance dropping adjacent map now. I got Sweet Herald MTX. I actually like the non-MTX version the best. No joke. Oh, there's my adjacent map. The like ebony MTX or whatever. It's the one that turns them dark, like dark freeze or something like that. It looks alright, but I've already got my adjacent map. I don't really care about that. Celestial. No, Celestial sucks and lags. And also, you can't see anything, any ground effects. It's already hard enough to see ground effects, like bad ground effects. You put that on there, you're not seeing anything. Can't. I just can't with that. Okay, well, even if you have a proper computer, you still can't see anything. Because it just covers the whole screen. You can't deny that. But you won't even see yourself. You won't even see your character. I'm thinking, here is I, or... Okay, you can probably guess what part of the video this is. This is the part where I talk about my day 1 experience in hindsight, how it went for this experimental explosive concoction build. If you're playing this build or Poisonous Concoction, one of my builds especially, the video is definitely going to be relevant for you. You can see we have 16 hours played. Truth be told, I've already been online for about an hour setting things up for this video. I'm going to get this out, get some lunch, and then start streaming again. But here's the character. I'll go over the gear in a second. But you will have noticed that the swap from Poisonous Concoction to Explosive Concoction took place around Act 6, Act 7. That was kind of a last-minute change to the PoB. The PoB is updated. That went over very well. Glad I was able to pull that off because I had done some testing early on, and it had some issues swapping right at Act 3. You know, Poisonous Concoction definitely scaled a lot better for a little bit longer, and then Explosive Concoction had its kind of moment to shine, you know, after you got all the gems really set up on it and a few other things. So the back half of the campaign performed really nicely. The Kitava Kill you got to see was very smooth. Probably one of my better kills, honestly, on any character. And then, let's see, we have a little bit of a mapping highlight, I suppose, early mapping. And then I'm going to show you, of course, in usual fashion, a little bit of a highlight of a snapshot of where I'm at currently with this build mapping. It definitely has some challenges with the build. You would have noticed the thumbnail. Yep, got a Divine Orb. Right after I turned the stream off, of course, continue playing, you know, for a couple hours. Just needed to, like, unwind before going to bed. But I wanted to keep playing a little bit. That Divine Orb came off the unique map, so that was the first Divine of the day. I'd already gotten 2 Exalted Orbs earlier that day, of course. We all tend to pay close attention to our RNG in the very beginning, but it's good to technically get a Divine Orb in day 1 is definitely good. A couple of weeks ago, it was day 3 until I got my first one. I remember how horrible that was. But that went straight into the Impulsa fund is where that Divine Orb went, so that's what I was rewarded with for finding it. Let's see. Currently here, recently, we got the Pantheon. I just finished this up with Soul of Ralakash and Soul of the Brine King getting the immunity frozen. I never did run Purity of Elements. Actually, a little change to the build was getting Arctic Armor back in, and then also running Herald of Ice. I'm going to talk about that in a second here. But the Hunger and the Star mini-bosses are dead. I've not actually killed the Quest Eater and Exarch, but they will be coming up in short order. The map I'm going to be running is a tier 13, so you can kind of get a sense of where we're at on that. The Wandering Path thing going quite well. We'll take a look at that. The map completion here. No favorited slots yet, but just following my own guide that I came out with a video right before the end. I went the Wandering Path, and then you know, there were a couple subtle changes. There was a correction to be made that where is it here? 100% increase effect of small Atlas passives. No, that's not it. That is Wandering Path. Oh, here it is. 100% chance for a monster in each of your maps to drop an additional connected map. It was brought to my attention that cannot exceed over 100% or that is completely useless. So we're going to pull some points out there and just get the duplicated maps and higher map chance more quickly. I did in the end prioritize getting that number to 100 first. Well, actually, I guess technically my priority was to get Wandering Path followed by Keurig Master Mission chance, and then the additional chance up to 100, and then map duplicated mods, and after that it'll be things like Heist, and of course I'll fill out the Exarch stuff here pretty soon when it begins becoming relevant. I do want to complete this Atlas before I start farming Exarch things, however. The leveling tree, as far as the tree here, went over very well. I definitely am glad that I made some last minute changes there. Hopefully you would have seen that. I definitely shouted that out in the Discord. But the leveling tree really smooth. The point at which you swap over to Explosive Concoction is really good. Getting some limited feedback already on people who are playing this build. Really, really nice. There is one challenge though for those who are entering red maps, definitely feeling quite a bit squishy. I'm feeling it too. And so that is a thing. But anyway, here is where I'm at currently. The next move will be to fill out things over here on the left. That's where that is. Gonna go over some of the gear here. We got the 3 dragons. This is the most outdated piece of gear that I'm wearing. This is really nice. It's basically a replacement to Goldrim. Well, and primarily my damage is fire, so it transformed, you know, basically some of my damage from Ignite into Shock, which I do think is better. But yeah, essentially it's just there for the all-res. And so, of course, I should be looking for a much better helmet too. I should be looking for better boots too. Not really sure when I'm going to switch out of this belt because it's giving me so much extra damage really good idea to buy this belt before you switch over to Explosive Concoction, if possible, if you can. It is very cheap. And then, you know, we got other things. Rash Kaldors ended up being a lot better than I expected. I was able to get Mute Wind. Was happy to see this. Was only a couple chaos. That was 1 chaos. The Thief's Torment, very well rolled, was 4 chaos. Prism Weave was 2 chaos at the time. Tanu Ahi was 5 chaos at the time. The Overflowing Chalice actually ended up being like 4 chaos, a little more than I thought. Wise Oak was 1 chaos. And Impulsa was 1 Divine Orb. For a decently rolled one. Yeah, 1 Divine Orb. But it is much cheaper if you get a lower cost one. My flasks are kind of bad. Definitely going to need to update these. But at least the ones on the outer stretch here are done, except for the quality. Yeah. So that's kind of where the gear is. Okay, so for the gems, you know, I got a little unlucky 6-socketing this. It took me like 400 or 500 maybe. I think over 500 jewelers, but it only took me about 50 orbs of fusing to 5-link it, so that's good. Later on, I will probably do the Beastcraft Corruption and then try to YOLO one-hit this Tainted fusing on it later. I'll probably buy a backup, though, before I do that, because I tend to be smart on those sort of things, so I need to buy a second one. But getting a 6-link Impulsor will be super GG. Oh, yeah, double taming will also be on the agenda. Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah, I should look into getting a double taming now that I got my leech stuff figured out. So, well, that just kind of hit me all at once right now. Yeah, double taming would be really smart. Although damage with the build is not a problem there. We got the Enduring Cry, increased duration, haste, and then something else to fill out the back end. Defiance Banner is only because Reservation allowed me to have a little bit of extra for Defiance Banner there. Mark on hit, snipers, and the Ancestral Protector there. This was one of the big 4 links I like. Fortify, Shield Charge, Faster Attacks, and Val Smite. Worked out pretty nice. Cast and damage taken, Immortal Call, and then Flame Wall. Flame Wall is just a little bit gimmicky, but I kind of have an extra slot right now. Trying to run Trinity is not really working very well. You might notice that I do have Trinity, but I don't have Wrath. So when I have Val Smite up, it's pretty reliable, but without Val Smite, it's not that reliable. So I am thinking maybe, in hindsight, I probably should have used a different gem here, but I don't yet have the mastery for the full life support. I could switch some things around, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. Let's see, I got some notes here, so I'll try to follow along. Oh yeah, I messed up something with Tanu Ahi. I neglected to go for the leech nodes up here before. So Tanu Ahi, you will see, does give you leech, but it's physical leech. So Explosive Concoction does no physical damage. So I put these gloves on well before I was able to make any use of them. And it kind of wasted a lot of time there. But I mean, it was at the end of the campaign, early white map, so it didn't matter too much. I am noticing it almost seems like these gloves are a little bit broken. You know, they work very well in the setup for the previous league, setting this character up. But in a practical sense, some things doesn't seem right. I'm not seeing adrenaline uptime anywhere near as high as I would expect it. So that's a little bit of a problem. We'll just have to kind of keep an eye out on that, I suppose. I'll talk for a second here about Rash Kaldor's Patience. I was kind of on the fence about making this a viable or suggestible leveling amulet or not. But one thing I didn't realize, this is a lot better than I anticipated, because I interpreted the bottom line as always can freeze, shock, and ignite, or can freeze and shock and ignite, which would still categorize, you know, you have to do cold damage in order to freeze at all, which I think is still true. But the fact of the matter, this says always freeze, shock, and ignite, which means it bypasses the minimum threshold necessary, which for Explosive Concoction is interesting because I do a little bit of lightning damage and a little bit of cold damage. But I'm still shocking and freezing anyway, every time. And igniting, of course. But the big kicker is before I had Impulsa, you know, I was missing Explode on the build. And it turns out that this synergizes incredibly well with Herald of Ice. I was able to get 100% Herald of Ice explosions, even though I do hardly any cold damage. In fact, I'm led to believe that even if you did just 1 to 2 cold damage with attacks, you would actually get Herald of Ice explosions every single time. It's pretty crazy. I am going to make a separate video on this amulet. I think a lot of people aren't aware of just how powerful it is. It's a 1 chaos item. I mean, it's, if anything, might be even less than 1 chaos. Not sure right now, but super cheap, completely overlooked amulet. It's not that amazing otherwise. In fact, as a kind of a downside there with increased attribute requirements, turns a lot of people off. But I mean, it's only 10%. So it's not that bad, I think. So yeah, going from Herald of Ice then into Impulsa was an amazing improvement. However, on the explosion, definitely got to feel that. Even without a Vessel Vinctor, it didn't matter. Everything shocks. So this amulet still works really nice with Impulsa. Of course, Yoke of Suffering would be better, but definitely a good combo here. Some nice tech right here. Especially in the event that I don't do high shock damage. But I am doing high shock damage because I'm wearing the 3 dragons, but I'm going to be replacing that because it's kind of outlived its purpose at this point. No corpses either way. So Herald of Ice or Impulsa, one big win over Poisonous Concoction, for example, is that there are no corpse explosions at all with this build. Let's see. And then, let's see, one other thing, quick thing I don't think I really mentioned. Solar Valakash is really a nice workaround for Corrupted Blood. I probably should have a Jewel now. I could very easily buy a Jewel with Corrupted Blood immunity that even has a few decent mods on it. But I don't feel like I really have to as long as I'm taking this. But then I probably will because I'll need to get the Soul of Aberrath filled out because I'm going to be running Exarch Altars. And if you aren't running this Pantheon with Exarch Altars with the, completion of it, you're doing it wrong. It's going to be way too much damage, even with maximum fire res. I'm telling you what, that's pretty bad. So that's kind of everything specifically about Explosive Concoction. Kind of gone over pretty well overall. And I don't really have any major regrets about the gearing. Going ahead and getting the uniques for leveling, kind of optional, but it was definitely a good idea, I think. Definitely. I felt like the transition to white maps was better than usual because it was basically res capped right away and spell suppress capped right away. I had some issues with physical hits, but I was tankier in white maps than I usually am with most characters. But I feel a little bit squishier maybe than usual in red maps, and I think it's actually has more to do with me just neglecting to upgrade my gear. Really just kind of wearing some of these items like the 3 dragons. I should probably start getting some rares. It's kind of an issue of not having enough rares. I think I still have minus 50 chaos res as well, for example. No 4th lab needed. Master Alchemist is the 4th point. Unfortunately, there's not much of a point in running Master Alchemist. So, I'll get it when I get it, but it's fine. Start with Nature's Adrenaline, Master Distiller with Abyss Smooth was good. Nature's Boon is obviously pretty good. But then, the 4th choice isn't very good. Unfortunately, all of these other ones are useless. Completely useless for the build, so that is what it is. Oh, by the way, the POB will be linked where I snapshotted into the description. I'm not going to load it up with all the damage mods and configs and stuff, but just as a baseline, you get to see the POB in the description below. Next on the agenda, we'll be getting a Vessel Vinctor. The right one might be really rare. I haven't seen it even show up yet, so people might be fighting over that one. Getting better magic flask. I definitely need to upgrade. Again, neglecting my gear. I'm not even really pressing these flasks. It's a bit of a problem. But this one's actually pretty good. Yeah, I don't actually need Chance to Freeze, Shock, and Ignite right now. So I should have much better flask. I need to get them to automate as well. I don't really like pressing all these flasks typically. Gotta finish the Atlas, of course, and start grinding the Exarch Altars. You might be wondering what maps I'm gonna do with the ping-ponging strat. Probably gonna involve Mausoleum. It looks like we got really unlucky with the adjacent maps on Mausoleum, but I did do a Geode map completion. It did look like it had potential. I'm going to look more into that potentially. Might do a completely different set of maps, though, honestly. We'll have to see. So, that's it. In conclusion, the damage is very good. I'd say as good as Poisonous Concoction. Feels nice, even on bosses. And that's without doing those mini bosses right before getting marked for death and the mark mastery for frenzy charges. Yeah, at least when I do the Eater and Exarch Kill, I will have that wheel, and that's going to be big time for any sort of bossing that I need to do just for quests. The defense, though, I definitely feel like this is one of the weakest characters I've had as far as defense running into red maps. Very, very squishy.